and thank you, Mike, for chatting this morning. When we talked last, it was earlier this year, and we talked more about some of your projects that were coming out at the time. So I want to make sure that we focus on Flourish this time together. So I want to know if you just wanted to start talking about the title, when you decided on Flourish, why you thought that was what you wanted, and just the meaning behind the cover art then as well.
Oh, absolutely. Flourish started with the song Flourish. Middle of the pandemic, I was angry, bitter, and sulking. My band's farewell tour got canceled. Didn't know at all what my future was going to look like. Didn't know if I should keep the band going and hire a bunch of new guys. I didn't know if I should start a solo career. I didn't know if I should give up music altogether. But I couldn't not write songs because I needed songs more than ever. And as David says in Psalm 49:4, I write songs to unriddle myself, is what he says. And so I started trying to unriddle all that I was feeling. And the first song I wrote was a song called Flourish. And it was sort of this fist to the air, but not in defiance, but in agreement with God, that even though all my circumstances looked completely out of control, I believed that I could still flourish inside, even if I wasn't flourishing outside. And that began the process. It sort of unlocked an avalanche of songs. I ended up writing 100 songs over the next year. And the cover art is trying to depict exactly that. There's a song called Standing at the Edge of My World on the record. There's a song called Follow You Into the Fire. In the song Flourish, I talk about all these different things. There's a song called Abundance, where even when times feel scarce, that I can still live out of abundance. So the album cover is all the different elements, right? Desert, storm, flood, fire, and this belief that there's a little flower in the guy's heart, showing that I can flourish in the midst of anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm curious if Flourish was the first song that you wrote that kind of inspired the album to get started. Which was the last song that you wrote that kind of completed and closed out the album for you?
That's a great question. I'm going through all the songs in my head. I'm trying to think of what the last song that made, the last song that made the record was a song called From the Start, which is ironic. The ending of the record was a song called From the Start. Because I felt like I needed one more sort of up-tempo kind of concert kind of a song if I ever do play concerts again.
That's funny. So it was that's interesting. So you mentioned that you wrote all of these, or a large majority of these, then during the pandemic. Looking back now with the state of the world that they're being released into, is there a lyric or a song that perhaps hits a little bit differently for you than you wrote it, for you experiencing it now?
Yeah, what song hits me harder than I thought it would is a song I wrote with my sister called Unity Hymn. 'Cause man, I thought that we had seen the peak of disunity, or I thought we saw that at the election last year, and then just feeling like it's just gotten more intense, depending on how you view certain things. So I love singing that song Unity Hymn because I just feel like it's probably always going to be a necessary thing to sing.
Absolutely. Since the album has been out and you've gotten to get some feedback, I'm sure, across different manners, is there a song that seems to be more impactful than you maybe anticipated, or maybe impactful in a different way?
Yeah, there's a song called Breathe In, Breathe Out, which certain songs, you write them and they feel really personal, but you just don't know, is anyone else going to really get this? And I actually kind of I'd written this other song called Kind to Myself, which my label really liked. It's kind of like a pop radio kind of a song. And the very last second I said, man, I think I'm supposed to put this Breathe In, Breathe Out song on the record. It's more of a personal prayer, and there isn't anything else like it on the record. And like, from the people who follow me on social media, that is by far the song that people are posting about and writing me about. And it was a big surprise. I just didn't expect that.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about how this project was different for you in creating it? I mean, you obviously wrote stuff during the pandemic, and you were recording during the pandemic. You did the campaign to get funded for some of your previous work that you were starting out with as well. So how did this process just feel differently to you?
Okay, so step by step. Yeah, I did a Kickstarter, and this is what people just I don't think they realize is, we signed our first record deal basically before YouTube existed. And so our label did awesome, like getting us in front of people, getting us on the radio, all this stuff. But the deal was such that we didn't really make any money off the recordings of our music. And so some friends were talking to me. They said, listen, if you do a Kickstarter and you get your fans to help you fund the recording, then you can enter into a much different deal structure going forward, where you could actually take time off because your recordings are helping pay your bills. And I said, man, that sounds amazing. And so I did this Kickstarter, really second guessing myself, going, is this just ridiculous? I should probably still be calling myself 10th Avenue North, because no one's going to know who Mike Donehey is. I'm shooting myself in the foot. Why would I do that? And I put out this Kickstarter, please help me record this record. It'll set me up in a much different way than my last record deal. And the fans fully supported my Kickstarter in 12 hours. And then ended up almost tripling what I asked for. And I'm kind of a guy that always wrestles with my best is behind me. Like I'll never stop. I'm gonna be going. I'm just wired in a way where I'm never gonna retire, like in the traditional sense.
Mm-hmm.
I want to burn out bright. You know what I'm saying? I want to be going till the last day. But I really was questioning, am I supposed to keep doing music? And so when the Kickstarter got funded, it was just such a wind in my sails of going, yes, these people care. Like, you don't need to make a record for everybody in the world, but you can make it for these people. And so I started recording and writing, and it was a lonelier process than being in a band. When you're in a band, everything is a committee. I mean, every guitar part, every piano part, every lyric, there's a committee that's got to sign off on it. So this, being a solo artist, like making this record was a little bit lonelier, but I would say it was probably a whole lot easier, because when me and a producer would have an idea, I would go, hey, who likes this idea? And me and the producer go, we do. I go, all right, let's do it. And so I would even say, from a personal point of view, this record feels more like what I would want it to sound like than even our band records would, because you had to sign off on with so many people that sometimes you had to make sacrifices of, I wouldn't have done that, but this is what everybody wants to do, so we'll do it. So this record is cool because I'm going, this is what I want it to sound like.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's really great. So I did want to ask you on some of the video packaging that you did around this album. You've released quite a few lyric videos and also a music video for Glory I Couldn't See. How do you get the visions for what you want those to look like, and what do you remember most about putting some of those together?
Yeah, I mean, Glory I Couldn't See was pretty easy because it is the song. Glory I Couldn't See is my pandemic song. And it's my anthem of, hey everybody, you know what? Let's not go back to the way things were. Let's learn from this disruption that we were given as a gift. And let's not keep missing our kids and missing these magical moments that disguise themselves as mundane. Let's keep looking for the glory in our everyday lives, because there's glory here if we have eyes to see it. And so that's what the music video is simple. It's just, I just want to show people how we went through the pandemic in our own backyard. And I had a friend who the girls are all really comfortable with, who babysits them sometimes. She was the director of the music video, so hopefully it just came across really natural.
Mm-hmm.
The music video for All Together was sort of a joint effort with this director named Sean Hagwell, and he had this idea of doing one shot, just one continuous shot through a space.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I love that. And then I go, man, I would love if we could set up a 12-step group, like an addictions group, that are all confessing and that I walk through the middle of, because that's what the song's sort of about.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love how that music video came out. I think it's one of my favorite music videos I've ever made.
That's awesome. How are you looking to define success for the album? This journey into being a solo artist for yourself in this time?
Well, two ways. Emotionally, success for me is just when, honestly, like, I got a text from a friend yesterday who's a director, and he goes, hey man, I've been living with your record, really love it, it's really been speaking to me. So whenever I get an unsolicited comment, particularly, now it always matters if I don't know the person or if I do, but particularly when it's someone and they go, this music is really speaking to me, that's it. I mean, that is always and then even people I don't know, it's just, wait, you took the time to listen to it and it meant something to you? That is what we as artists are hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
On a practical standpoint, the pandemic really taught me that the value of what could happen if through my art I was able to actually take time off. So practically, if the music generated income in a way that I could actually take time off the road, that would feel like a huge win for me.
That's great. Where are you drawing inspiration from currently for yourself, either musically or spiritually?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm always reading scripture. I'm always reading books. And I'm always watching movies. And I'm always listening to music. And I'm trying to draw inspiration from my own life, So all those things. I mean, we're limited, right? Like, I love how people go, I just want to put something outside the box. I go, well, you are a box, You're not going to write something from a Polynesian girl's perspective in the Pacific Islands, because it's not you. It's not part of your story. Like, you can watch documentaries about it to try to understand what that's like, but So I'm always just trying to expand my own box to have a more broad and beautiful perspective on things.
That's great.
I just watched a movie last night called Coda, which I guess there's some questionable moments in it, but it's like about a deaf family, and they're like fishermen in Massachusetts, and this girl wants to sing. So it's this really interesting, like as a musician, she loves music, but her family can't really appreciate it because they're all deaf, and then she feels all this pressure to be their interpreter every moment of their lives. And so it's like, what's the proper way to need each other? How do you love each other? How do you appreciate each other when you don't have the ability to appreciate it? It was actually really beautiful, and it's really got my brain turning. So I love watching any movie that like gets my brain going in a way that it usually doesn't.
That's awesome. I had heard of that one. I haven't watched it yet, so I'll have to put it on the list.
Yeah, my parents recommended it to me.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it's great.
That's great. Well, I'm going to close with one final question for you. Interested to see where you go with this one, but what are you most expectant for in the remainder of this year?
Great question. Honestly, just starting to see what this solo career looks like. So I'm excited to see, where this music goes and where I'm going to get to speak to people, and because I'm always, the music kind of goes out, and then it's sort of, it's like it goes out in the jungle, and you're standing at the edge of the jungle, and you actually just don't know which way you're going to go. So you send this music out, and it's like a scout that goes ahead of you and starts hacking this path. And then you get to sort of follow the path and see what are the groups of people you're going to go play for, and who are the people you're going to get to speak to. So I'm just excited to see where in the jungle this music is going to go and where I get to follow it.
That's awesome. That's great. I just want to thank you again, Mike, for taking the time. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think I've seen the movie Jumanji too many times. Maybe that's why I had that analogy.